All right, welcome back here to Live and Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. We turn our attention to a search for a missing college student in the Dominican Republic. Sudiksha Konanki went missing over the weekend. The investigation, the search continues right now as, of course, we're learning very preliminary information, very limited information about this, as there is now a person of interest in the search for this missing college student who is on spring break there in this Caribbean island. Back here in the United States, in her permanent residence in Virginia, the county there opening this investigation. They don't have a suspect yet. It's not a criminal case as of yet, only a missing person investigation. Let's bring into the conversation now out of Virginia, Fox 5's David Kaplan. David, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What more can you tell us about this investigation and some of the resources being sent down there to the Dominican?
Yeah, Andy, we know the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office is sending people today. We know the FBI, other agencies are involved, the Indian Embassy in the Dominican Republic, the Dominican Police, the Civil Defense in the Dominican Republic is handling the search as well. So multiple agencies looking for Sudiksha Konanki. Now, you just touched on this, Andy, and we got to be very clear off the top here. The latest comments from the president of the Dominican Republic are that they are sort of operating under the theory that this was some sort of accident. That is based on conversations that they have had thus far with people who were last with Konanki in the moments before she disappeared last Thursday morning. That said, the sheriff's office here in Loudoun County, Virginia, has really emphasized that they want to leave no stone unturned, and they did confirm the name. Joshua Riibe is the person who is last believed to have been with Konanki. That said, they are very clear in their statement that this, again, is not a criminal investigation right now, that he's a person of interest in what is still a missing persons investigation. He's been interviewed. He's still in the Dominican Republic. He is not a person of interest nor suspect in a criminal matter, and that is an important distinction, is what a spokesperson told us in a statement. Sheriff Mike Chapman told Fox News a couple hours ago that he couldn't comment on where things stood with the investigation exactly, but they did not want to rule anything out.
And we're looking over a lot of things that I can't really talk about, because it's an ongoing investigation. But believe me, there's a lot of information that's being looked at right now. A lot of different, things when it comes to electronic communications, all these other things.
The Dominican Civil Defense is continuing its search. This is new surveillance videos emerged from just an hour before Konanki was last seen. It shows her locked in arms with this person of interest who, again, not a criminal suspect. Fox News is also getting more video on the ground of the hotel where this is happening. The lead investigator in the Dominican Republic telling Fox News this afternoon that they're continuing to comb through video, interview, and re-interview people. Authorities say the search on land and sea is active. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office says there were multiple drownings at this specific location within the last few months, and Fox News spoke with someone who was at the resort at the same time where Konanki was staying, who said this about the water.
The current and the waves, the waves were really big both of those days, even during the day and at night. I think we went down there Thursday night, and the flag was still red from the previous days, and the waves were a lot heavier, but we didn't go in the water. We just stayed on the sand.
I reached out to a couple of numbers, Andy, for the parents of this person of interest. I did not hear back, so we have an active search, Andy. We have a very active investigation, and certainly a lot more questions than we have answers right now.
Yeah, a lot still be undetermined at this point. No body yet. Of course, indications potentially may be drowning as well. I do want to ask you, because there are, like you mentioned, a lot of questions. Are we expecting to hear from any authorities there on the ground in Virginia or in the Dominican Republic? Do you hear anything about that?
Yeah, so out of the Dominican Republic, there have been sort of piecemeal updates based on what we've been able to gather. We know that there's the sort of police investigation that's happening there. The lead prosecutor in Punta Cana has also given a few updates. And obviously, I referenced this, but we've heard from the president of the Dominican Republic as well. So again, we know that there's sort of an active investigation at this time, and that's definitely something that's noteworthy. As for Loudoun County specifically, I can tell you again, the sheriff's office just sent a team down there. They've been in constant communication, but I will tell you, Sheriff Chapman also did make a note that sort of they're going through this investigative process, and he did indicate it could take some time, but all this to the end, Andy, of really trying to figure out what exactly happened and where Konanki is.
Yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of agencies involved there, going from Virginia down to the Dominican Republic to provide support in that search, that investigation. David Kaplan, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your insight here on Live Now.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we're going to continue on here on Live Now from Fox. A very interesting, complicated, uncertain story that we're following as they went on spring break with some friends to have some fun. Now, a missing person there, Sudiksha Konanki from Virginia, a University of Pitt student. The last seen, the person of interest, not in this criminal case, just a missing persons case. They were unrelated. They did not go down there together. This one, obviously, going to school in Minnesota, and we'll hear from our Fox 9 team in just a little bit. Let's take you out, though, to this interview my colleague Mike Page had with our Fox News correspondent Nate Foy on the ground in the Dominican Republic as the search ramps up. Let's listen into this conversation from just a little bit ago.
The search intensifies for the missing University of Pittsburgh student that has gone missing in the Dominican Republic for the last 6 days right now. Let's go out live there where we have Fox News' Nate Foy joining us with the latest here in this investigation. Nate, what is new today?
Hey, Mike, we are in the water off of Punta Cana, not far from where Sudiksha Konanki was last seen early Thursday morning of last week. I'll ask my photographer to just pan to the Rio Republica resort. This is where she stayed. You see a lot of people here still celebrating their spring break. People on vacation. I'll ask my photographer, Doug, to zoom in on the red flags. Those red flags are up at this specific resort to symbolize dangerous ocean conditions. And the neighboring resorts that we can see all have yellow flags. So this presumably went up after this terrible disappearance, or it could have been up before. We're working to learn that information. Meanwhile, behind my photographer, I'm not sure if he can actually show you, but we have search teams continuing to try to gather any evidence to find this missing 20-year-old American college girl. We earlier were speaking with some Dominican armed forces who came over to our boat and told us to be careful because they have scuba divers in the water. Yesterday we saw helicopters and drones being used with volunteers on the beach, just trying to find any information they possibly can. And the search zone has also expanded as the Dominican National Police say they have 300 workers out here. They're re-interviewing all witnesses, trying to figure out exactly what happened. This is an American Indian girl who was visiting the Dominican Republic with her friends from the University of Pittsburgh. And according to surveillance video, you see that they go out to the beach just after 4 a.m. on Thursday morning. And the friends shortly return about an hour after that. The gentleman that is seen with his arm around her doesn't return to the hotel until 8:52 a.m. As you see a helicopter right here coming towards the Rio Republica resort where Konanki was last seen. I mentioned the gentleman that she was with went back into the hotel hours after everybody else and reportedly told police that he passed out and threw up on the beach after swimming with Konanki, claiming that he got out of the water because of rough conditions, which we see symbolized with the red flag. But this right here, an example of the tremendous resources that are being deployed, an international search effort to find this 20-year-old girl whose parents are here in the Dominican Republic, pressuring investigators to try to figure out what happened and to consider all possibilities. Again, drones also being used. Every single resource that is available is being used right now, but still search there are no answers. Hopefully that changes soon. We'll send it back to you, Mike.
Yeah, Nate, it's terrible for the family what they are going through right now. Is there anything in the investigation? Is anyone being called a person of interest? Do they have anybody that they are zeroing in on, or is this just something that they are still just going through the motions here of this investigation?
So the Loudoun County Sheriff in Virginia, where this girl is from, came forward and described a person who is a witness in the investigation as a person of interest. But the Dominican police have not said that, and we are making the editorial decision to not communicate that information with that specific verbiage right now. So right now, all we are reporting is that the Dominican police are re-interviewing all witnesses involved in this investigation.
All right, Nate Foy, with the very latest out there in the Dominican Republic. We appreciate your reporting. Thanks so much for the updates, and we'll continue to look for more as they become.
All right, thank you so much to that report there, as Nate Foy on the ground in the Dominican Republic, as the search there for the 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student from Virginia gone missing there in the early morning hours. The search continues. I do want to put up just a post from Nate Foy as well. Say we had an interesting moment today in the search for the missing American college student Sudiksha Konanki in Punta Cana. This helicopter hovered over an area within the search perimeter next to our boat, and the dive teams with snorkels investigated the area minutes later. So as you heard, they're on the ground, but also in the skies, trying to find this missing individual, last seen on surveillance camera in the early morning hours, just past 4 o'clock over the weekend. And like you also mentioned in that hit, Nate Foy talking about the search in the water, some of the currents, some of the tides moving in and out could make it very difficult. But also note during that hit with Nate Foy, you can see plenty of people in the water enjoying the spring break. So it's not like they're roping off a singular area. It's not like they're looking in a specific area. People are enjoying themselves as the search alongside, adjacent to this search for this missing Pitt student, of course, arm in arm in that last surveillance video with a, quote, person of interest, not a criminal investigation, not at this point. So we just want to reiterate that. That's what officials in Virginia and beyond are saying. The FBI also involved. We're hearing from different officials down there in the Dominican. All right, I'm Andy Mack here on Live Now from Fox. You can see this, the last known moment on video. Sudiksha Konanki there in the Dominican Republic alongside some of her friends that went down there. The person of interest went to a university not associated with Pitt, not associated with this friend group, actually from St. Cloud State in Minnesota. We'll have that and much more here on Live Now from Fox. Let's slide away for a quick 2-minute break. All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. We're learning new details in the disappearance of a University of Pittsburgh student, a 20-year-old female in the Dominican Republic on her spring break. I do want to put up just this, the last known images of Sudiksha Konanki there in the Dominican Republic at 4:15, just past 4 o'clock last Thursday morning. They do have a person of interest. They're not calling this a criminal investigation. This is just a missing persons investigation at this point, as of course, like I mentioned, a person of interest has been identified. We're going to be joined right now by Fox 9's Mike Mazzoni. Thank you so much, Manzoni. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What can you tell us? What more can you tell us about this person of interest in this investigation at large?
Well, we know his name. His name is Joshua Riibe, but at this point it's important to note that he is not a suspect and he does not face any criminal charges. We know that he's from Iowa, and right now he is a student, a senior, enrolled at St. Cloud State University. He's been attending there since 2023. That's here in Minnesota. He is a senior, majoring in land surveying and mapping sciences. I do want to show you some surveillance video. These are the last known images of that missing student. Investigators say this This video that a news outlet in the Dominican Republic obtained shows Riibe walking with Sudiksha Konanki. That's the missing student. She's also with some friends, and you can see them following close behind. This video is from last Thursday around 4:30 in the morning. Investigators say the group walked toward the beach in Punta Cana, and Konanki and Riibe stayed behind. Investigators are now working on the assumption that the 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student may have drowned, but at this point, there's really no hard evidence of that. Authorities in Punta Cana and here in the United States talked about the search right now just hours ago.
More cameras have been checked, both in the location and in the surrounding area.
We want to find her. We want to hopefully find her safe and sound. Right now, there's just so much that we don't know.
To local media reports in the Dominican Republic, Riibe has been cooperating with investigators, though he's told apparently conflicting stories about what exactly happened that night or in those early morning hours. We're in the Fox 9 newsroom. I'm Mike Manzoni. Let's send it back to you guys.
All right, thank you so much. Lots of questions still left to be unanswered. I do want to ask you, because the St. Cloud State Community, a small school there just northwest of the Twin Cities, do we know more about who he was down there with? Because we know Konanki traveled with a group of 5 friends. Do we know anything more about who he was there with?
We know she was there with friends. Unclear who he was there with or if they knew each other beforehand, since she goes to school in Pennsylvania. He attends school here in Minnesota. Likely that they just met there, but investigators haven't released any of that information at this point anyway.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your insight here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation as we're continuing to follow that. The search continuing to ramp up there for this missing 20-year-old student in the Dominican Republic. All right, we're following it here on Live Now from Fox. Let's slide away for our final 2-minute break of this hour.